I get an email, Alex, there are 0 tickets. We are canceling the show. So I went on social media. I told everyone what happened. I literally said I got 0 ticket sales, and people just started rising up. 2022, I brought in $42,000. 2023, I brought in $38,000. 2024.
Alex is a stand-up comedian, actor, and professional roaster. He's appeared on America's Got Talent more than once and has been named one of the 15 funniest comics to follow by Funny or Die. Alex recently released his first stand-up special, available for streaming on all major platforms.
And I was working a day job at Universal Studios in their guest services department. I did that job for 12 years because I always thought I'll know when to leave. I get a phone call that said, Alex, you just booked a national commercial for the Super Bowl for Hyundai. 2 hours later, I get a second phone call, and they were like, Alex, you just booked a sitcom role on this show called Hot in Cleveland. I'm just imagining my life now, like, this is it. I did it. I ended up getting diagnosed with stage 3 Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I couldn't work. So you want to talk about financial hardship? Hospital bills. The amount of money that we had to spend.
Alex, welcome to So How Much Do You Make?
Thank you so much. It is glorious to be here. I'm ready to be as honest as possible.
So to kick things off, how much do you make?
A very complicated question.
Okay.
Because it really does vary from year to year. I was looking through my receipts today, and like 2022, I brought in $42,000. 2023, I brought in $38,000. 2024, $30,000. So apparently right now I'm on a downward trajectory. So next year, I don't know, $4,000, but it really just depends. But the last few years have, I've been tested a lot and been challenged of how I'm going to bring in money.
Yeah.
So it's been an interesting few years because it really, everything just depends because I get my money from a variety of sources.
What are some of those variables?
My normal source of income is like club weekends and things like that, which those range anywhere from like $1,000 to, if I sell really well, $3,000 to $3,000 or so. The crazy part is, if I were to sell out an entire weekend at a comedy club, we're talking upwards of 25, sometimes even like $35,000 that you can bring in a single weekend. If you're selling out like 5 to 6 shows at a major club and you're taking the door, that's like, I mean, I have friends, I have peers that are making millions of dollars.
Wow.
My ticket sales usually aren't that high, which is why I take a lot of guarantees versus the door, which is what I try to do.
Can you clarify, what does it mean when you're making the door? And then also, can you explain the guarantee?
Yeah. So typically, if I'm doing like a one-nighter at a club, they'll say, okay, you have a guarantee of, let's say it's anywhere from $250 to $800.
Okay.
It really just depends on the size of the club. But then there's the door, which is when they say, okay, we'll give you 75% of the door after our expenses, which means whatever the ticket price that is paid to get in there. So tonight, I believe my ticket price is $30, I think. Once it crosses a certain threshold, which is usually just their expenses for bringing in staff and things like that, then I will get, tonight it's 60% of whatever the door is after those expenses.
Got it.
So you never really know what it's going to be. I mean, I can tell you last time I was in Chicago was a year ago, and I beat my guarantee was 500 and I ended up getting 637. So I had enough tickets come in that I did beat the guarantee.
Right.
But you just never really know. But you can negotiate how much of the door that you get. And if you're a top level headliner who they know is going to sell out, you can usually get at least 80% of the door, if not even 100%, because they're going to make their money on the food and drinks, because there's almost always a 2-item minimum. So it really just depends. And that's why the scope is so crazy, where one weekend you could literally make $1,200, but then if I had a great weekend the next weekend, suddenly, like, you know, my highest is like, I think like 4,000 something that I've ever made in a weekend. But like I said, I mean, I have friends that are selling out comedy clubs, theaters, arenas. And if you're talking arenas,
right,
that money is stupid. I remember, so 2019, I did this post Burning Man festival in Reno, Nevada, and I was at the Silver Star Legacy, and they paid me $1,200 to open for somebody.
Okay.
They gave me, and I was like, cool, $1,200, a hotel room, some travel money, great. Ron White, who's a pretty famous comedian, was there the next weekend. And I talked to him a couple weeks later, telling him, oh, I was at that same venue. I saw you were there. He goes, oh, cool. That's awesome. They brought you in there. And I was like, I know what I made. What did you make?
Right.
He goes, did 2 shows and I made $140,000.
Okay.
And he told me, he goes, I'm not telling you that to flex on you. I'm telling you that so you know what's possible. So you know that if you're the headliner and you can sell that many tickets, then that's what you could walk away with. But it's difficult because I have friends, that just sold out the Chicago theater here. So to admit that I had sold 0 tickets, which is pretty rare. Normally I don't sell 0.
Of course.
That was an anomaly, and it was just like, okay, whatever happened here, I don't know.
Right.
But admitting it was the best thing I could have done.
Could you tell us what happened this week?
Yeah. So when I found out I was coming here to do this podcast, I reached out to a club here called Zanies. I have played 2 of their other locations. They have Nashville and they have in northern Chicago, Rosemont, which is by the airport. I've never done their downtown location, which everyone says is the best. So I reached out. They happened to have it open. And I was like, great. I started promoting it only about a couple weeks ago because I booked the show pretty late. And on Saturday, first of all, they hit me up a week and a half ago to say, hey, tickets aren't really moving that well. Do you mind if we offer a discount? I was like, of course not. Get them in the room however you can. They're like, great, $10 off. And I was like, cool, fine. Saturday, I get an email, and I didn't see it till Sunday morning, but I get an email, Alex, there are 0 tickets. We are canceling the show. And at first I was like, oh, fuck. Okay. But like I said, I'm in a good place right now. So I was like, okay, this is a learning experience. What's the best thing I can do with them trying to cancel the show? So I went on social media. I told everyone what happened. I literally said I got 0 ticket sales, and people just started rising up, and like immediately the post started getting a lot of comments, a lot of shares. Like people were, trying to reassure me of my place. They're like, we love you. You're great, blah, blah, blah. Like that place, they don't need you. It's their loss and all this stuff. But Zanies had left me on the website. So some people started buying tickets, and they said, hey, so we can do like a showcase style show that you can headline, which would cost us $200. And I said, if you're still going to be here, you can do it. And I was like, okay. So people really rose up and started realizing that this was not going to, that basically through my own honesty and vulnerability, that I was like, they were like, they spoke up for me, and they started showing up, which sometimes is what you need. People don't realize what we're going through. And I've been doing this for 16 years. It never stops kicking you in the face.
Yeah.
Never. It's just one of those things where you just take the hits. And I always say, like, every no gets me that much closer to a yes. So every loss gets me that much closer to a win, which is going to feel so much better. But sometimes the amount that you go through, you're like, not now.
Yeah.
Not now.
Yeah. Well, that's such a great story because a lot of people would not feel comfortable answering some of these questions about money, and they don't feel transparent talking about money, especially, as you said, when it can vary from year to year, when peers are making a different amount. So how do you feel right now talking about money and being so transparent about how much money you bring in every year?
Right now, I feel okay about it because I'm really in a good place mentally where I don't want to hide anything and pretend things are going so swimmingly when really I'm just like paddling to stay afloat. I think it's good to talk about it because promoters and clubs and these people, they can pay us whatever we want, because in this business especially, we're like, I'll take it. It's fine. I just want to do the show. Please don't leave me. Like we're like a desperate person in a relationship. We'll do anything to keep it. So if they suddenly are like, hey, we can still do it, but we can only give you 200, I'm still just like, you know what? Okay, that's a win. And I'm just hoping suddenly a bunch of people come out and I get a really good door.
Do you think that feeling ever leaves? Do you think that you're ever going to have a time where you're like, I'm going to say no to 200, or I'm going to say no to this show? Or do you think as a comedian forever, you'll kind of be taking any gig you can or any show that you can?
I think it's powerful to say no. I do say no when I really don't feel like something aligns with what I'm doing or if it's worth my time. You know, there's been a lot of times when like a gig in Arizona will hit me up and I look at it and I'm like, okay, so if I were to do these 2 casinos, they're offering me $700, but I look at it and I'm like, that's 16 hours of driving. Like, yeah, they'll cover my meals, they'll cover my rooms and things like that. But that's 16 hours of just driving to these 2 gigs.
Right.
For $700, I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that.
Right.
And so there are times when it's just not worth it for me.
So you said you've been in comedy for 16 years.
Yeah.
What was starting out in comedy like?
I moved to LA to be an actor.
Mm-hmm.
I had done a few small films, like student films, and a couple really low budget things, but I was pretty bored and I didn't know what to do to fulfill my creativity. Because the thing is, when you're an actor and you're just doing small, like 1 or 2 lines here and there, you're not creatively fulfilled. Yeah. But like in my first 6 months of living there, I booked a national commercial that played for a year and a half. And the national commercial ended up grossing $26,000. So I was like, I'll just do like 2 of these a year and be fine. Like, this is great. And I was working a day job at Universal Studios in their guest services department. I did that job for 12 years until the pandemic, because I always thought I'll know when to leave.
Sure.
Like a year after booking that first commercial, I booked another on the same day. I'm at work at Universal Studios selling tickets. I get a phone call that said, Alex, and it was from my agent, Alex, you just booked a national commercial for the Super Bowl for Hyundai. And I was like, oh my God, amazing. 2 hours later, I get a second phone call and they were like, Alex, you just booked a sitcom role on this show called Hot in Cleveland. So in the same day, I was like, basically like, I told all my coworkers, I was like, bye everybody, I'm gone. Like, I'm just imagining my life now. Like, this is it. I did it. Like, this is all I needed. Like, this is proof that I'm doing the right thing. I did not book another major role like that for over 4 years.
Wow.
That Super Bowl commercial made me like $12,000. The TV show was like a little over $3,000. So those things were adding up, and I was just putting it all in a bank account while I was just working 30 hours a week. Yeah. Because I just figured I'm not going to leave this job until I know for sure that I will never have to come back.
What were you doing in that job?
Basically, mostly selling tickets. Like I worked in their guest services department. Mm-hmm. So mostly I was a ticket seller at Universal Studios Hollywood, the theme park. And we got paid commission to upsell. So when we're selling front of the line passes, annual passes, we would basically get $1 for every single one. And we got a higher rate of selling if we were in the special, if we were one of the best sellers anyway. So I was making like $25 an hour after taxes.
Oh, wow.
And I only worked like 8 in the morning till like 2, 3 p.m.
Yeah.
So it worked for stand-up.
Exactly.
Perfectly. And so I didn't think about how to make money through stand-up because I was like, it's going to come to me.
So you were working at Universal Studios, making $25 an hour after taxes. So pretty good. And you had a really flexible schedule so you could work and then do stand-up at night. Was it helpful to have that kind of steady job? While you're,
completely. I had friends that were basically living in squalor, in poverty, scratching together whatever they could to make their rent. But I had friends that were like, if my car breaks down tomorrow, I'm done. Like, I'm finished. And I never had that fear. I was able to pay for what I wanted, keep going to like festivals and concerts and, you know, taking my girlfriend out to dinner. I was able to just have a life where I didn't have to think about where the money's going to come from, which is why I never thought about it at all. I just figured at some point I'm going to keep getting good at this. and the money will find me.
Yeah.
I'll get cast as a series regular on a show. I'll do this, I'll do that. So I just kept performing as hard and as I could, writing every day and going up as much as I could. And I really felt like I was getting good heat in around LA. I had been writing scripts, and a friend of mine was doing stand-up comedy and was like, you should do this. And I was like, I didn't know you could really do that. Just do that. And I went to go see him at the Comedy Store, and he was on what they call a bringer show, which a bringer show is basically pay to play. You say, I'll bring you 5 people that will pay for tickets, and then I get to do 5 minutes on your show. I didn't know that's what I was going to at the time. He went up, no joke, 23rd in the lineup. So I sat there watching like 25 people. And I was like, this is who performs at the Comedy Store? I gotta be able to do this.
Yeah.
I have to. So I always say, like, don't get inspired by the best people doing it. Get inspired by the worst people that are willing to go there and do it. Because that's so much of what being an artist is just realizing, oh, that person's doing it? Okay, then I can do it too. We're all just normal people.
So when you left college, when you moved to LA, it was to be an actor. It was not to get into comedy.
No. I'll never forget the first time I did stand-up. It was like 5 months after moving to LA. I did this show, and it was a bringer show because I didn't know any better. I thought that's what you do. And there were like 50 people there. I did 6 minutes, and I just remember that feeling when I got off stage. I went and I called my mom. It was 1 a.m. back on the East Coast, and I called her and I was like, Mom, I found it. This is what I've always been looking for. This is what I want. And she was basically just like, great, finally something. My son wants to do anything. So I would just start racking up open mics, going to as many shows as I could, watching from the back people that were better than me. Like I made a goal that I had to do at least 10 comedy performance related things a week, whether it was going to shows, going up on my own shows, doing open mics, whatever it was, it had to be at least 10.
Yeah.
And typically I did way more than 10 just because I would line up my nights. I would get out of Universal Studios at 3 p.m., start going to open mics, maybe sleep in my car for a little bit, do some writing at a coffee shop, but then I would just stay out and I wouldn't see my home again until 1 a.m. And then I would wake up at 6 and repeat all over again.
Wow. I wanted to ask, how was that feeling of finding this is what I want to do? But it sounds like the feeling turned into this is what I want to do. You sound so determined and driven. And how many years were you kind of doing that cycle?
I pretty much didn't stop doing that until the pandemic hit. I was out all the time and constantly figuring out new ways to create, because something happens in you when you discover your purpose. That is the most important thing in life, is to find what am I supposed to do that will drive and motivate me.
Yeah.
So it never felt like work to me. It never felt like, oh, I gotta go do more open mics. Oh, I gotta go do this. I never say I have to go do a show. I get to go do a show. I get to go talk on stage with whatever came up in my head, and I get to go present these things that I've come up with. I get to throw these shows. I get to I was throwing my own shows. I was auditioning. I was doing so many things. And every day at Universal, I didn't care that I had to be there because I knew that when I got out, that's when the real work begins.
Yeah.
So it was so awesome to have to be in a place where I could financially support myself to do this, but also that I had just the willpower and the inspiration to go, what could be better than this? I'm at Universal Studios right now, and tonight I will be on a show with John Mulaney, Aziz Ansari, Anthony Jeselnik, Ali Wong. Like, I just like looking at that, you're going like, who cares that I'm selling tickets right now? And then I would outsell every fucking person in that booth.
Yeah.
So I would say, if you have to do a regular job, do that job as best as you can. Doesn't matter what it is, be the best employee they have ever seen, because then they can't just take it away from you. If you need to go do other things that are more aligned with your purpose, then they have no choice but to let you go do it.
I love listening to you talk about what comedy means to you, what being in this field means to you. And so kind of bringing it back to finances, though, it sounds like you were like, I'm hustling, I'm doing my thing, the money will come.
Yeah.
You weren't like, this is my projected spreadsheet of how much I'll make this year. Or you were like, I'm going to hustle, it's going to come. When did you feel like you started getting in a good rhythm of, I'm making enough money to support my lifestyle, I'm making enough to be able to put these tours together, things like that? How many years did that take?
I mean, so I really feel like when I was about 8 years in, I had an amazing year. This was like 2016 into 17. So I got on Comedy Central for the first time. I did the show called Roast Battle. I was invited back for the second season after doing the first season. And then I had just recorded my first album. And then 2018 comes. The first day of the year, I had made a calendar of my pug and I doing yoga together called Pug Yoga. And it ended up getting on the Ellen show. Crazy. I didn't even know it was going to. They had asked for a copy, but I didn't know why. And so suddenly I'm getting phone calls from friends' parents going, do you know you're on Ellen right now?
Wow.
And so that's how 2018 started. And I was like, cool. And then my album came out that year, a couple months later. And then I got to audition for America's Got Talent because of what I had done on Roast Battle. So suddenly I'm like, whoa, all these things are clicking into place. Everything's coming together because I figured out who I want to be as a comedian. I was able to start touring from that. And it still wasn't like a lot of money, but it was enough that I was getting recognition and getting ticket sales, and clubs were willing to bring me in because I had just been on this massive show.
Yeah.
So but even still, even at that time, I was still just banking all that money. I wasn't thinking live off this. So at some point, this shift happened in comedy where all of a sudden, social media was the biggest thing.
Right.
Right. And I was very resistant to it at first because I don't like being on my phone. I will fully admit it. I don't like doing that part of it. And everything became about self-marketing, self-promotion, which I didn't thrive at initially because I really kind of rejected it. But then, especially during the pandemic, that rose up like crazy. And that became how all these people lifted up out of nowhere.
Self-marketing and being on social media.
Yeah, and I was always on social media, but I never really cared about it because I didn't realize how much things were going to change.
It wasn't a tool for you. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know that it would become the most important thing.
Yeah.
Where now, like, comedy clubs, America's Got Talent doesn't matter. Comedy Central doesn't matter. The fact that I have all these TV credits does not matter. The only thing that matters is how many followers do you have? How many butts are you going to put in our seats? Which I get why that matters. And my wife likes to say, you still want a career that happened 30 years ago, where you get on the Tonight Show or like an America's Got Talent, and next thing you know, you're just off to the races.
Right. But you're saying it doesn't work that way anymore.
No. And I kept thinking, I'm doing things my own way. People are paying attention, and there will be one thing that suddenly breaks me out of everything. And over time, I realized there's not going to be one thing. It is a constant build of all of these things. So everything that I do, I just started calling them bricks in my castle. Everything I do is a brick that you can't take away. Doing a podcast is a brick.
Yeah.
Doing a show is a small brick. America's Got Talent, giant brick. That's like a foundation. But you have to keep building, and then one day you're going to build this castle. And people are going to look up and say, when did you build this castle? When did you get up there? And you're like, oh, you haven't seen it. Me building piece by piece over all these years.
I love that analogy.
So I was doing all these things, but never thinking about the money part of it. Where I have, a lot of friends that are like, how do I make as much money as possible doing this? And that just has never been me. And I'm trying to shift into that place because my wife is very much like build wealth, grow, learn as much as possible, do this, plant the tree now. And I'm just kind of, I try to get there. It's just hard. It's very hard for me.
Is it hard because it's a shift from how you've always thought about comedy, which is I'm going to hustle and the money will come?
I think you still have to hustle. The hard part is me thinking it's the important part of it.
Got it.
Is like, yes, because I did make the choice during the pandemic. I did America's Got Talent again. And I had this moment where I made it all the way to the live shows, and they were like, hey, I know you live nearby, but you have a hotel if you want it for the night. And I was like, oh, I'll take the hotel just so I can really get in my own space, have my own, get in my head. The hotel, we were shooting on the lot at Universal Studios. The hotel room that I had overlooked the ticket booths where I spent 12 years selling tickets. And I was like, in that moment, I was about to shoot live television with a brand new piece that had not even been practiced because I couldn't go around doing it since we were in lockdown. I just looked down and I was like, I'm never coming back here again. Yeah. Whatever I have to do, I've spent my time. I've done it. I will figure this out from this point on, whatever it is. And I knew at that moment I was never going to go back.
Yeah.
And I haven't gone back to any sort of regular day job.
Is that a moment of like, wow, I've made it?
It felt so serendipitous because nobody else is having that experience.
Yeah.
There's other people that are filming this show tomorrow, but they're not looking at their work.
Yeah.
They're not thinking about the thousands of hours they have sat in that booth just upselling tickets to tourists just so they could go out and do an open mic right afterwards. Like they don't see any of that. And so I look at those moments as, well, this isn't an accident. I put myself here.
Right.
I didn't know what was going to happen, but that one specifically was like, I cried. Yeah. I cried in that hotel room. And it was because it just felt like such a mountaintop had been reached.
Yeah.
Of like, look what I get to do in a pandemic of all times. This is crazy.
What is the weirdest thing you have done for money?
Feet videos.
Please say more. I'm very curious.
So I make money off Cameo. So,
cool. Yeah.
So I'm on Cameo, and a lot of times people either just want a roast or a motivational, like positive thing, whatever it may be. But somebody on Cameo during the pandemic, actually 3 different people, for some reason, they wanted to see my feet.
Okay.
And when somebody said that, whatever I do, if I'm going to do it, I do it, like I said, the best way I can. Whatever job I'm doing, I want to be the best at it. So, I mean, I was in my living room. I told my wife I was going to do this for somebody, some dude, and then actually some woman too paid me to do it. But then I literally like was on the ground like, oh, you want to see my little footsies? You want to see my dogs? And then I took off my sock with my mouth, and ripped it off and showed my feet. And I mean, afterwards, my wife's like, what is wrong with you? What did they pay for that? And I was like, $35. She's like, that was worth it to you? I was like, I don't give a shit. Sure. That's 4 minutes of my life.
You're kind of speaking to this. I mean, being in comedy, it's not a linear path. And it's not a path that, honestly, that many people have walked in front of you. You know, if you become a lawyer, you go to law school, you do your first year associate, and then there's a very clear path. But I can imagine nothing feels A, that linear, or B, that laid out. But it does sound like the comedy community is pretty tight knit. Do you feel like other comedians have helped you figure out what could be next, or how to monetize, or different things like that?
Definitely. Yeah, it really, I mean, you're exactly right about that we are very tight knit. The thing that attracted me to comedy was that there's no way to do this. Comedians will lift other ones up. You know, it's part of the role. If you are a very successful comedian, well, who can I look at that's not here yet and pull them up this mountain? And I've had a lot of people help me out with that. I mean, Jeff Ross has probably been my biggest supporter. He's the first person who put me on TV, like Comedy Central. He's always kind of just been there to have conversations with. My friend Craig Gass, who's a regular on the Howard Stern show, he gives me a lot of work through writing assignments and things like that. Whenever he has a specific thing to do, he'll just pay me to write jokes and for that.
Yeah.
And he'll just give me money for the amount of jokes that I write. Like, and these are people that they take me on the road with them. So I open for them. I have deep conversations. But the thing about comedy is, when you've been in it for 16 years, which is a long time to be in one thing.
Yeah.
Most people never make it that far.
Yeah.
You are watching people that you started with that are so beyond successful, like the top level of things. And so you have to you can't get bitter about it.
Yeah.
You just have to use it as inspiration, know that everyone's running their own race, and hope that they still are a good enough person to remember the people underneath them that are going to need help. And when I look back at lineups I had of people well before they were famous, it's crazy. I did a show in 2015 and I still have the poster for it. I had Ali Wong and Nikki Glazer on the same show. It was a $15 ticket.
Wow.
Try to see either of them right now for less than $100, in a massive theater. And we're talking about a tiny little Burning Man warehouse in in an alley in Culver City. Crazy things like that. Just because you never know what your friends are going to do. But I support everyone that's going through this. And when I have somebody open for me, I always tell them, the reason you're opening for me is because one day I think I will be opening for you. So by all means, don't forget that I'm here.
In those 16 years, have you faced a financial hardship or challenge, or have you pretty much been afloat?
I've mostly been afloat in terms of finances. I'm very proud of this. I moved out of my house my parents' house when I was 19 to go to college. And since that day, I have never, ever asked them for money. As far as financial hardships go, I've been okay, but we can get into this. I mean, my health took a big turn right after we got married. So right after we got married, I found out I had cancer.
Oh, wow.
Which I had it at our wedding. Didn't know it at the time. Wow. Basically, I ended up getting diagnosed with stage 3 Hodgkin's lymphoma. Oh my gosh. So I felt all these giant lumps in my neck, and I was kind of like, what's going on here? These don't hurt or anything. Soon as I went to my PCP, they were like, I think this is lymphoma. Wow. Started going to specialists. 3 months later, bam. And then I couldn't work. I spent 6 months where I was getting chemo treatments. I developed sepsis because my chemo port got internally infected. I was in the hospital for 33 days. So you want to talk about financial hardship? Hospital bills.
Yeah.
I cannot say enough about this. It is the amount of money that we had to spend on tests and specialists and all this. And we had insurance, but insurance covers a good deal of it, but you're still paying pretty substantial amounts.
Right.
But I got to the point, 33 days in a hospital is a ridiculous number. We're talking in the over $1 million that you are being
over $1 million.
Over $1 million. And during that time, for the first time in my life, I had to ask other people for help, and I didn't want to do it, but I did a GoFundMe. I did a medical GoFundMe. I really didn't want to do it because I've always looked at medical GoFundMes as the ultimate high stakes popularity contest.
Okay.
And I was not prepared to find out how much people really liked me. I was like, I think people like me a lot, but do they save my life
Right. What made you finally do it?
My sister-in-law, Holly, convinced me of it in a very simple phrase. She said, when a member of a community is sick, everyone in the tribe bands together to heal that member. And you need to accept that you're that member and let us help you. And she set it up for me. She did all of it. And I'm so glad I did it because donations started rolling in. It wasn't just the medical bills. I also couldn't work.
Right.
So my savings were going to get depleted very quickly. So that GoFundMe brought in $40-something thousand.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to relax. It allowed me to go, I'm gonna be okay, when all this is said and done. But I still was ripping up medical bills and throwing them in the garbage, which my wife hated.
What were the emotions of seeing that GoFundMe, seeing how many people were supporting you?
I mean, it just lets you know that being a good person pays off. It really does, because it wasn't just the amount of money, it was the amount of people. And it just allowed me to feel so much love in a time when I was at my absolute lowest, mentally and physically.
Yeah.
I mean, that will take it out of you. When I didn't, for the first 2.5 weeks I was in the hospital, I didn't move. I was so physically deteriorated that when I tried my first session with a physical therapist, they asked me to get out of bed and I physically couldn't.
Wow.
And I'm a person who, I play tennis. I can stay on a slack line for hours at a time.
Yeah.
I do all these things that are that prove to me that I'm healthy, and to not be able to walk for a little while. Your brain just goes what happened here? How do we come back from this?
Do you still have outstanding medical bills? Do you feel
Probably.
nervous?
Yeah. Do I feel nervous? No. I hope the government doesn't listen to this, but
we'll see what we can do.
Right? But no, because I can't live my life in fear. I don't live in that state. And I know a lot of people do, and I've had conversations with people about this because they're like, I don't know how to pay this. And I'm like, well, what happens if you don't? What happens? And I've gotten some phone calls from creditors that hey, you have an outstanding balance. And I'm like, outstanding is the correct word there. So thank you very much.
I mean, $1 million, that's just kind of unthinkable.
And that's not what I owe.
Okay.
But it was still they would show me, they show you the sticker price, right?
Yeah.
And then they're like, but you only paid this. And I'm like, none of this makes any sense.
Yeah.
If you're telling me it's $1 million, but I owe 7,000, no, you're just making up things. These are all arbitrary.
Yeah.
None of this is real. You're just saying whatever you want to. You're just putting a number there and hoping that I pay it. And I have a very good example of this where I talk about it in my special where I was on, I have autoimmune condition that manifests through my skin, and I was put on a medication that cost $37,000 a year. And they were like, can you pay that? And I went, no. And they went, how about $500 a month? And again, I went, no. And they just went, all right, then it's free.
Oh my gosh.
So it's why couldn't it have just been free?
Right.
Why are you trying to start up here and seeing what you can get out of me? Our medical system is broken. I'm not the first person to say that. I think we all know what's going on.
Yeah.
It's disgusting that people are profiting off our health. We're the only country that does that. It's laughable. This is why medical debt is such an extreme thing in this country.
Yeah. It's
so insane. And so I am a huge proponent of just don't pay it.
I think a lot of people share your frustration. But I think that what you went through is something that not everyone goes through. I mean, what you went through was so extreme. And I'm so happy that you are on the other side. And can you share where you are today?
Yeah, no, I'm totally healthy. I don't, they don't use the word remission with me, but I'm 2 years out from my last chemo treatment. I am in amazing shape. I've done a lot, my body and mind, because I definitely had really low points the past couple of years, really low, but I've done what I can to have self-care methods that have pulled me out of that and to not put myself back in that state. It really made me think about what I want and what's going to be after this, because dying was easy. It was so easy to stay in a hospital and not have to think about anything in life. Surviving that and then realizing, oh, I better do something with all this. That was terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you said your resilience, your ability to break through and keep going is so palpable in every story we've heard today. You just radiate positivity and
toxic positivity.
I didn't say that. But you really do. You just show what it's like to keep hustling, to keep moving. Seems like you're always going forward no matter what is happening.
I try for sure. I mean, I've had moments where I really have been at very low points, which is like I just sink into myself, and especially after like post cancer, like I had this immediate drive that was great, but then as things weren't opening up to me in the way that I would have hoped that they would, then it started to kind of bear down on me a little bit more. I mean, because comedy really is, it's like chewing your way through a brick wall. Yeah. It hurts sometimes, and it is so much effort just to get the littlest bit out of it. But I'm thinking like, well, one day I will rip open and smash down that wall. Yeah. And that belief is still in there. And it's just a lot of self-care methods, a lot of meditation, a lot of exercise, a lot of ayahuasca. Like, to me, if we're being truthful here, like there's all these things that have to get me to this point of like, I still believe that I am meant for bigger things, right? That I am meant for more, that I am able to build something sustainable that will carry a lot of people with me. I believe that every day. And honestly, to shake that out of me is essentially impossible.
What is next? And what's making it? What in the next 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year?
One of my biggest problems is I'm not a great goal setter. Okay. I don't set goals necessarily. I just kind of go, go, go. I like to say that I throw spaghetti at the wall, but a lot of times I forget to cook it. So I'm just like literally watching rigatoni smash into pieces going, well, why didn't it stick there? That's what's going on. That's part of a money mindset too, of like, how do you build and grow wealth? Definitely. How do you have an investment? What's your end goal here? And I've always just said, I just want to keep having fun and living a life where I really don't have to think about money. Yeah. But now I do have to think about money. Yeah. Especially because my wife and I have been trying to start a family for a while. Okay. And I know that, especially when there's a child here, this is not just for fun anymore. Right. This has become something else entirely. Right. And so I'm trying to do the work now to change my mentality completely, to step into that.
This is kind of the shift of comedy was super fun, and now comedy is how we're going to make it. Yes, it needs to be a job. It needs to be how I support my family. When did you get married?
2022. Okay. We met in college. We've been together since then, basically. Wow. Yeah. And she's the best. She turned me from this monstrous little boy into a happier little boy. Yeah. I'm still a little boy. Let's be honest.
Sure. Did you two talk about money before you got married?
To an extent. Yeah. Yeah. Because she's always been very supportive of me, especially how long we've been together. Right. It was never like a conversation, like it wasn't like, how much money do you have? But we're open with each other to talk about it. Like if I was like, okay, all your investments, what's in your bank account? What's this? I know how much she makes a year. A lot more than I do. And things like that. She would tell me, but at the same time, she doesn't want me to rely on her. I've never asked her for money in any way. I've never said, hey, I can't make rent. Yeah. I can't do this. We pretty much go Dutch on everything that we do. In that respect, we're open with each other. But I don't want to get to a point where I have to be like, I can't pay rent. Right. Because I'm about to turn 40. No way. I can't be in that place.
Well, I assume living in LA, I mean, that's a pretty expensive city.
One of the most.
Yeah. How are you able to make it work in LA? And you said you're a bit more frugal. So are there ways you like try to save in LA, or what is that like?
I just don't go beyond my means. So it took years for my wife to convince me to get a credit card, because I lived off a debit card for so long, because I was just like, if I have a credit, I don't need to spend money that I don't have. Yeah. And my wife was like, but you're not building anything. What you need to do is get a credit card and then pay it off every single month. You're not going beyond your means, but then you get points and you can use them for things. It took her years to convince me of just little things like that, because I am a very stubborn little bitch. I'm very stubborn. I am exactly like my pugs, like where I'm lovable and I'm hilarious and I'm cuddly, but I'm also very stubborn. And if I don't feel like moving, I'm not going to move. And so I'm really trying to get better about, now I do have credit cards, and I am good about
how's that going?
Points, and it's good.
Yeah.
I totally understand it. I'm always the things I'm most resistant to. As soon as I do them, I'm like, well, shit, I should have been doing this a long time ago. Especially over the past year, 2 years, she's been like, Alex, what are you going to do to make money? Like, I don't care if it's not stand-up comedy, I don't care. I don't care what it is for you, but in some sense, you need to step up into being a provider for when we have a family, for when we have a baby here. And I've been trying. That's what she's the one that she's like, hey, here, listen to this course on money. Okay. And start practicing, start doing these things, start making, make a budget, do things like that. I've never made a budget for anything in my life.
Okay.
I've never made a budget. I think something will snap in me when I have a baby. I really do. I think something's going to go and I'm just going to suddenly kick it into gear because I've watched so many people I know do that. And my wife recently was like, well, you can't wait for that. You can't wait until the last possible second to be like, I'll save our family. No. So start doing something now. And that's a very difficult thing to have to reckon with, but I'm doing my best to do it. Realizing that maybe stand-up comedy, I know it's in my life forever, but maybe that's not the way that I make all of my money. Maybe there's another thing I can do. So I've been grappling with that of what's it going to be. And for the past year and a half, I have been a volunteer at Children's Hospital Los Angeles. And specifically, I work in their literally healing department where I read books and gift books to children that are on the oncology floor. So I go room to room and I realize this brings me so much joy because for a few hours a week, I'm not thinking about myself. I'm not thinking about money. I'm not thinking about my career. I'm looking at these child and their families that are in the worst possible moment of their life, knowing that I have been there before, understanding that fear and making them smile, making them laugh. So just last week, I started a YouTube channel where I read books to kids on online. And I figure not everyone needs to be in a hospital for me to read to them. So let's see what I can do with children, in this new facet. And instead of trying to just make adults laugh all the time, which is great, nothing brings me more joy than a child laughing because it's so authentic, and they bring out the silliest parts of me, the parts of me that I think cancer tried to rip away, just my silliness. I was like, no, that's my favorite part of me, my ability to have fun and just be a goofy person. And kids bring that out of me. So I was like, okay, maybe I can build something with this and I will see where it all goes. And I do think there's something really, really big in the midst.
It sounds like it, and it sounds like you're on the path.
I hope so. I mean, I think I've been on the path for a long time, and it twists and it turns and it goes up and it goes down. But in my mind, I've never strayed from just I don't know where I'm going, but I will get there wherever it's supposed to be. And they always say you got to enjoy the process.
Yeah.
Right. And I think consistency is my next goal. Something form of consistency monetarily, something sustainable. Maybe the YouTube channel starts doing well and bringing ad money or something like that. Something along those lines. Or maybe it leads to live performances or something else. I think it's just going to take time to build. But the more people that learn about my story and the more honest I am about it, I only think it can lead to good things.
Did you see an uptick in followers, engagements from your vulnerable posts this week?
Yeah. Definitely. Because we don't talk about ourselves like that online.
Right.
We don't. And it's so scary as a comedian. You want to say, we're sold out, everybody. We did it. And we don't want to say we sold 0 tickets. But my admittance of that failure, basically, it showed other people whoa, because people see me with a level of success that maybe I don't always see myself with, because I live in it day to day.
Yeah.
So if you're like, well, look at you, you're headlining all over the road, you've been on TV, you've done this, it looks very successful. What they don't know is when I look at my bank account from like, last year, and I'm like, that was $30,000 before expenses.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of money. So I do think that, from now on, I'm definitely going to be more vulnerable about that, because I think that will bring me more bookings, and it allowed people to see how relatable
Definitely.
I
think more people are closer to zero than a sold out show. In life, not even just comedians. I think just people. More people get closer to zero callbacks from a job application than they do 100.
Definitely. Yeah. And it's just like, if you have the belief in you that you want to do something, like it honestly, like it doesn't matter how many job applications you have to go through. It doesn't matter how many emails you have to send, how many interviews they make you go through, because if you can finally get there, then that's what it was all for. And for me, I think the biggest thing now is stop needing validation from outside sources. Stop needing a club to book me for me to make my rent. How do I do it on my own? Which I've always been resistant to in my mind. I've always been like, I don't want to ask people for money. Like, literally, sometimes, like, I struggle with that. I struggle to value myself and to create and to admit what I think I'm worth. And that's why, like what we talked about earlier, people are like, oh, just do it. Please, just give it to me. I'll do anything. But we should state our worth, and we should know our value. Yeah. And right now, I definitely know my value, and it's high.
Why do you think it's so hard for people to understand that about themselves, to say it about themselves?
It's vulnerable.
Yeah.
Especially like when you said a lot of people are closer to zero, right? Well, that's not easy to admit. And also, it doesn't make you seem valuable to admit that, because nobody wants to work with the person that's struggling. They want to work with people that are thriving and that are showing it. It's embarrassing. It's makes you feel like you're not doing good enough. Like, how did I get here where I can't even go to this event that I want to go to, where I'm questioning whether or not I should get guacamole on my burrito, like things like that, where every little thing is, a question in your mind of should I or shouldn't I? And to actually admit those things, it is so difficult, because you want to present yourself like everything is going great. But the more honest we are with each other about it, the more people can band together and you can feel your worth. Like right now, my net worth, as far as a bank account goes, it ain't that much. Like, it's like, I think put in my car, my bank accounts, my savings, stuff like that, we're talking less than $20,000 total. Probably more like 10 to 15-ish, right? I've watched my savings deplete over the past couple of years because I still have been resistant to getting a regular job. Right. So I've been trying to just live off the money that I have. But there's shame in not feeling like you have enough. And that is so difficult.
Yeah. It's always told you not having money is a negative. So that gets instilled in you.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what life tells us when you can't afford things or whatever.
Definitely. It's hard to admit that you don't have money or you're not good with money, or, it was always easy for me to say, I don't care about making money, because as much as I would love to be rich and successful, I only cared about it in terms of that means I'm doing really well in my career. Right. That's the only thing. Like, people used to say to me, like, do you want to be famous? It's like, fame is a byproduct of what I want. I don't care about, anyone can be famous. There's a lot of bad reasons to be famous. Yeah. But if my career has taken me through a trajectory where I am successful because of that, then that's fine with me. Right. So when I'm not selling 0 tickets is a very humiliating thing to have to admit, especially after 16 years of grinding my ass off, of trying so hard. But the more people talk about what we can make and what we do make, it allows everyone to just enter this circle and go, oh, okay, well, if it's that much, we can get there. But also it's okay that we're down here. And what are you doing differently? Like when Ron White told me I made $140,000 in those 2 shows, but I didn't tell you that to Lex. It's to show you. And I think especially in your chosen field, whatever it is, whether you're a lawyer, an accountant, a podcaster, an artist, and a copywriter, whatever it is, we should be talking about, well, what did you get for that? What's your rate? What did you get for that? Because then we know what's possible.
Do you feel like by being vulnerable about money, about the ups and downs, that you're helping more people?
I hope so. Because we should not be ashamed of not having a lot of money. We can use what other people are doing to inspire us to get to a certain place, to know what's possible. But just because you're not there yet, the only thing that's shameful is not trying.
Right.
Is admitting to yourself that you're not good enough. And I've definitely felt like that many times, especially in the past couple of years, because of just how much strength and energy it took to like rebuild myself. I just think people should be honest about it.
Yeah.
They really should, because so many people are in debt. So many people are struggling. Like, I don't want to hear the word tariff again right now. I really don't want to hear it. But like, I get everything's more expensive than it used to be, and prices are never going to go back down.
Right.
Inflation is real.
Yeah.
So it's never going back to where it was.
Right.
So now how do we rise up together?
Yeah.
And the more we talk about it, I think we all like give each other ways to like help each other out.
Totally. And like you said, social media can feel like such a highlight reel of only the positives, and it doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
So I think by sharing your story, letting other people know that it's very normal to have some moments that don't feel as good, even 16 years into a career that you've worked so hard in, helps people know that they're not alone.
Yeah.
I think there's so much to be said for that too. Well, Alex, I so enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much for sharing everything that you did. This was like such an insightful conversation. I think a lot of people are curious about how finances work in comedy and what it's like to be a comedian. And there are people who are listening who are interested in becoming a comedian or who are in a maybe similar field. And I know are just really inspired by your words and your journey. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. This was really fun. It feels good to be this truthful.
Yeah.
It feels good to not pretend that I'm somewhere like where I wish I was and know that I will be. It's okay that I'm here right now.
Alex, where can people find you? It sounds like a few places.
Yeah, not at Hollywood Presbyterian anymore. No, yeah. I mean, hoopercomedy.com is where you can find most of what I've done. I mean, I have multiple albums out there, specials out there now on Prime Video, Apple TV, YouTube, all these places. At Hooper Hairpuff is my social media. And I just say, like, listen to my stuff. I have this new channel that I talked about where I read to kids. That's called Tree Stumps Tales, and that's on YouTube. But I always say, come see me in the real world because I'm way more fun in real life than anything you're going to see online.